Rob Cruz,
Present.
Amy Grantham,
Present.
Nancy Hopper,
Present.
Katie Jess,
Present.
John Prouty,
Here.
Melissa Smits.
Present. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next, please note the added table file to the agenda. And then if we could have the pleasure of the board on the agenda.
Move to approve. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Rob Cruz,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Prouty,
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Next on the agenda, we have a special presentation. This is National School Counselor Week. And I believe we get to have some counselors.
I'm first. I'm going to follow the agenda as best as I can. So I'm really, really happy that we have so many, a majority of our school counselors are here tonight. And as I've reported in the past, we're really, really fortunate that we have FTE at all of our elementary buildings, which is definitely a change from what we've had in the past. And so I'm just going to take a minute to read the proclamation for National School Counseling Week. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society, and whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, Morgan County School District RE3 proclaims February 7th through the 11th, 2022 as National School Counseling Week. And before I turn it over, I have the luxury of working with these counselors sometimes on a daily basis, but definitely monthly. We meet and just talk about supports and strengths that we have in our community and as resources, and so I'm really excited for what they're going to share tonight.
Thank you. So every week or every month, let me start over. Every year during February is National School Counselor Week, and so we take the opportunity to come and speak to the board. And so Amy has and Ryan too, have a handout for you. And it's just an executive summary from the American School Counselor Association talking about comprehensive school counseling programs and what they look like. And so since there are some of you that are newer on the board, it would give you some information. So during our time tonight, we will introduce ourselves. We're going to be talking about the Counselor Corps grant and what is happening with that, with elementaries. And then each of the buildings will have an opportunity to share out. And then at the end, Rena and I are going to be sharing a little bit about what we're utilizing some of the Essers money for some mental health supports. I know that Rena said she gets to work with us, but we are very, very fortunate that she advocates and supports us all the time, and so we couldn't do our job without her. And we also are very appreciative of our administrators in our buildings and how supportive they are of our programs and what we do with kids, whether we're meeting with them individually, in classrooms, small groups, whatever we're doing as an intervention. Or if we're responding to a crisis, whatever it is, we work together very well. The American School Counselor Association, the theme for this year's National School Counseling Week is Better Together, and our team is definitely better together. We work really well, even in stressful situations, and so I'm very, very honored to work with these folks. And so I'm Matthew McLean. I'm a full-time counselor at Baker Elementary.
I'm Tracy Reeves. I'm counselor at Fort Morgan High School. I work with the juniors and seniors in the first part of the alphabet and IEP students.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Einspar. I'm also at Fort Morgan High School. I'm with the freshmen and sophomores, the second part of the alphabet.
I'm Amy Pratty, Fort Morgan High School. Also, we have our fourth counselor who could not be here today, Marcy Wolf. She has freshman, sophomore, the other half of what Ryan has, and I have junior, seniors, the other half of what Tracy does.
I'm Zoe Soares, and I'm the school counselor at Lincoln High School, and I'm the only one, but I am the full-time, finally, so that's great.
I'm Kelly Bellander. I am the counselor at Green Acres.
Hi there, I am Lisa Conti. I am the counselor at Columbine.
Hi there, I'm Trey Payne, and I'm the school counselor at Pioneer Elementary.
And I am Cassandra Ekstrom, and I work at the Fort Morgan Middle School. And Audra is my co-partner, but she couldn't be here tonight because she had a sick kiddo. So this year I have the 6th grade. She has the 7th grade, and then we split the 8th grade. She has the beginning of the alphabet, and I have the end.
I'm Christy Hoffman, and I am the school counselor at Sherman Elementary.
So as you hear, there's so many of us, and I love that. When I started with the district in 2005, I think there were 6 counselors. And so we've grown since then. Needs have grown, but also our FTE has grown, and it's been wonderful. So we're going to share a little bit now about the Counselor Corps grant. We applied for this 2 years ago. Is that right? So we applied. Yeah, so we applied 2 years ago. There was a need for more help in the elementary instead of a half-time counselor, and so Rena and I talked, and so we put together an application. The whole counseling team looked at it, and then we submitted it, and we received it, and so that allowed for us to have full-time counselors at all 4 elementaries.
Okay, I guess that's me. So I guess a little bit of how the grant kind of came into play. Last year was considered our planning year, so we did a lot of data gathering. We surveyed students, we surveyed parents, we surveyed teachers to just kind of get some needs and wants out of everybody, and then we compiled all of that data. Obviously, we got a lot of good data, but because of COVID restrictions and stuff, we weren't able to get exactly, what we would have hoped. But it gave us enough data that we worked with a team. Her name's Pam Decker. She's really awesome. She's kind of helping us through the grant and getting everything written. And we got our information put together and ran the numbers, and that's how we were able to get the money that we needed, and we got a nice, good amount of money for each elementary school. So it's been very nice to be in one building every single day. I think this is my 4th year here, and just this year alone, I probably already know double the kids that I have in the last 3 years. Having to split buildings, so that alone has been really awesome for me to be able to get that much closer to the kiddos, especially my 5th graders this year, because I've kind of been with them the whole way, and so it's been kind of nice to have that extra time with those 5th graders.
So I wanted to share just a sample of the data that we collected with you all. So Bev so graciously added that to your documents. This is not conclusive data by any means. We had hundreds of pages, and I have provided you with 8 charts and graphs this evening. So yes, it's not conclusive, but I hope it gives you a snapshot of some of the data that we were able to collect, and just a little peek inside the hearts and minds of some of our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. We did survey students in all 3 domains, so academic, social, emotional, and career and post-secondary. In that academic domain, there really were some themes that emerged around executive functioning. So kids and teachers corroborated this as well, but kids were saying that they were having a hard time with with certain executive functions, so planning and organizing, working memory, staying focused during class, listening. So those are all skills that we can help support. And in a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Trey, and he's going to talk to you about some of the goals that we created using this data. You'll also see a couple of pie charts there about career and post-secondary domain. Just really cool to see what our kids are thinking about for themselves and their future. And that was certainly encouraging for us to implement some more career and post-secondary awareness to try to create some hope and some exposure to a variety of pathways for our kids after they graduate. The last domain, the second page that you have, is the social and emotional student well-being. Gosh, we collected so much data, such an immense amount of data on this topic, and obviously it's something we all care about an awful lot. I would say that the numbers really reflected what we've come to know about our kids. We've got a lot of students that struggle with poverty and trauma and sadness and worry and social connection, you name it. So this is a team of people. We're trying to address that through individual services, whole classroom instruction, and then Trey's going to talk a little bit about our small group goals as well. So I'll turn it over to Trey.
So like Lisa talked about, with the grant came some good amount of money, and Kelly talked about it too. And with that, we have been developing different goals and different templates to make sure that we're following the right steps to hopefully eventually apply for ramp status through the American School Counselor Association. And so our first goal is for all students 1st through 5th grade to increase their executive functioning lessons from 1 to 4 per year. And when everybody was half-time last year, they were only able to do 1. Now that we have full-time counselors in the building, we're able to increase it to 4. So like a 200% increase on executive functioning. And that, from what we saw in the survey, that was something that the teachers and the students both said they needed. So we increased it by a lot. And our second goal for students in the 1st through 5th grade is to participate in complete SEL research-based interventions to provide specific and targeted skills to foster SEL awareness, enhance psychological well-being, and promote academic success. And our baseline data says that we're at 16%, and our target is to move that up to a 20%, so a 4% increase. And we're going to collect data by attendance of those lessons that we teach, the executive functioning and the career lessons that I'm going to get to here in a second. And we talked about the career, Lisa talked about the career lessons. And so we're going to increase those from 1 to 2 per year. And we were also able to purchase a program for our younger students, our 1st and 2nd graders, called Pause and Jobland, that they're going to do in the computer lab for like the whole month of April. So they're going to have a lot more hands-on mice, hands-on computers, but they're going to have a lot more just experience to just different jobs than just the community helpers that they would normally get. So that was good for the littles too. And those were the 3 goals that we wrote for the grant.
So the benefit of having us full-time in the buildings is that we then can collaborate. So we meet at least monthly to work on lessons, and based on the data that Lisa talked about, then we put together lessons on whatever we need to for that month. And so that means that every month students across our district get the same lesson in all grade levels 1 through 5. And so I think that consistency is really important for our kids to have skills for their future. So obviously it'll take a few years for us to see the benefit of that, but as of right now, even with kids in and out, for first semester, we were able to reach 96% of the students in September, again, grades 1 through 5, 92% of the students in October, 93% of the students in, did I say 93? 92% in October, 93% in November, and then 91% in December. And so that helps us see that most of the kids are getting that lesson. And of course, it's developmentally appropriate. 1st grade don't get the same lesson that the 5th graders get, but still the same topic and that type of thing. We wanted to get a little bit of anecdotal data or information from the administrators, and so Rena has some quotes from administrators on what it's like to have a full-time counselor at the elementary versus a half-time.
Yeah, just a few of the things that our admin have said is having a full-time counselor has been an absolute game changer. It is like the missing piece to the puzzle. The support we can give to both students and staff on a daily basis is beyond incredible. Having a full-time school counselor has been one of the greatest accomplishments in our district. I'm glad that we can address students whose behavior has escalated more recently in an appropriate and timely manner. And having a full-time counselor has opened up far more opportunities compared to last year. There is immediate impact upon students. It was apparent when counselors can meet with some of the neediest at-risk students and their families, being involved with MTSS meetings, meeting with teachers regularly, and participating in various committees. So very thankful for the impact on school and community.
So we hear that regularly from our administrators, and we're glad to be there to be able to support the staff and the students in our buildings. So next, we are going to hear from the other buildings on activities that they have going on. Sherman?
So I just work with the kindergartners, and I do a guidance lesson once a month when I go into the classrooms, and I do small groups, and I have met with kids individually. Some of the topics I've covered is tattletelling. This month, it's going to be filling your bucket, or are you taking away from somebody else's bucket? Unkindness. We talked about friendships and things like that with just things that the littles kind of need help with, and I'm in the classrooms about 30 minutes for a lesson, and I know that several teachers and the principal have appreciated having a full-time counselor at Sherman. Thank you.
One of the fun things that we have done at the middle school this year was kind of targeting off of capturing kids' hearts. And this year we really wanted to focus on the relationships that we have with our kids. We just have so many struggling, and then our teachers are struggling. And so just really fostering those relationships. And so we did an activity where we had each team of teachers go through their entire roster of kids and really consider how well do I know these kids, who do we not know well at all, and then we're really pushing them to continue that and take a group of kids, and as they're out supervising during passing periods or whatever, get to know some of these kids a little more, so that way we can really foster some of our relationships. So we're excited about that.
So I just wanted to talk about last week. We had our Power Up for Success Day, which is our college and career readiness day at Lincoln. And even amidst the snowstorm we had on Wednesday, we had a great turnout. We had 10 college and military recruiters come from all over Colorado. We also had 19 presenters that did 20-minute sessions on specific careers, everything from construction all the way up to probation officer. And we selected those careers from a career cluster survey we gave the students so that they would obviously be in sessions that they would be interested in. And then in the afternoon, we played, what is it called? Hiring Frenzy, which is a really cool game. It's basically like a mock interview, so someone's an interviewer and an interviewee, and that was a big success with our students. And then we also had a session where they learned how to create a resume and cover letter. So it kind of prepared them for either college, military, or the workforce after graduation.
So as you know, we've got a new setup in the high school for the counseling office. So one of the things we're trying to purposely do is invite students to our area so they knew where we were. So one of the fun things we did in finals week was cocoa with counselors, which went over really well. We gave out free cocoa for 2 days, and it was a blast. And now most of our students know we're off, so it was a lot of fun. That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
One of the other goals that we have is meeting individually with each of our students in our part of the alphabet. So first semester, Amy and I met with all of our seniors just to do a senior grad check, talk about what their plans were after high school, scholarships, all of that stuff that's important to your seniors. This semester, we're focusing on juniors and trying to get through those so that they know classes that they need to take, where they stand toward graduation before they register. Next year, talk about opportunities with MCC classes and stuff like that. And then with Ryan and Marcy, they're meeting with the 9th and 10th graders just so that those students get an idea of where they stand for graduation, how important it is to pass all of their classes, and talk about ideas and opportunities that they have going into their junior year and senior year. So that's another goal.
Something we're in the, I guess not in the middle of right now, just starting up, almost to the middle of it, is teen mental health first aid. All us counselors are trained in it. So what we do, we go down to the health class that is offered first, second, third, fourth, and then what is that? Sixth period. And we teach that lesson to those students, and it's a semester-long class. We did it last semester. We're doing it this semester again. It's a great opportunity for us to get down and, you know, interact with the students, capturing kids' hearts, those relationships again. And what we're discussing is, you know, how to help your peers, how to help your friends, how to recognize a crisis, a mental health crisis, and not be the person that's going to solve the problem for them, but empowering the students to then take their friend, their peers, to a trusted adult who can provide appropriate help. And that's something that, you know, we're in there for those 6 lessons, and even though some of these students who've been going to this high school, have been in this district, you know, their entire educational career so far, are still kind of surprised at what's being offered at the high school. So it's kind of neat to see that as well.
So you can hear that the impact for students is great and the reach is huge, and that the work that we do is something that we are very passionate about. So next, we'd like to talk about the Essers Funds. Do you want to talk a little bit, and I'll hand this out? That'd be great.
Oh. Well, and I've mentioned it to the board before that we have, we're really happy. We have outside, 2 outside therapists coming to the secondary level, and we have a gal from CATA, the Center for Healing, Trauma, and Attachment, who comes and does yoga therapy at Baker once a week, and has started did art therapy at Green Acres. And one of the cool opportunities for us as a counseling group is 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half, seems like a long time ago, but Friday night we actually had Jillian Dagenhart, who's the person doing the yoga and art therapy. She came and did yoga and mindfulness training for us, and it was really, I loved it. It was really great. It was a great experience. And so I think that what we're trying to do is continue those services, and we just wanted to make sure we highlighted so far how many students we've impacted. Hopefully we can increase, you know, the number, but just try like piloting it in the fall and seeing how the yoga therapy worked. We piloted it with a group from the Thrive program at Baker, so that's who she's been meeting with every week. And I've talked to the teacher, and I think it's been super successful. And then I think with Kelly and the art therapy, also heard really great things. So
yeah. So what you have in front of you is just some big data, like straight up data, nothing else there, but just to see how many students have been impacted by the different things that Rena just talked about. So the yellow block is about the direct therapy services that she mentioned. So we're utilizing 2 therapists. We put the proposal in to Rena relentlessly for weeks and weeks, and then she gave us an answer that we were able to do that. But I think one of the biggest impacts is just that it's actually helping some of those students. And I'm going to have Zoe and the high school counselors and Cassandra talk a little bit about what that's been like for their students to get those services. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So we've got Kat Anderson coming in one morning a week. She's been meeting with 8 students. We've got a wait list of 6, so we know the need is high. We got a little bit of feedback from our students. The counselor's been really good for me, helped me be productive, as well as making sure I'm on tasks. Another student says she's helped me with many relationships and the problems I was having. She did include one thing that would be nice would be to have her or a counselor like her here more often, as I usually only got to see her every week, but longer would be nice, and a lot happens in just 1 week. So we know the need is there, so it's been very helpful to have her come.
So today when I was asking my students, if you could wrap it all up in one sentence, what would you say? They all said the same thing, calming and positive. So Kat has definitely been a positive and calming essence in our building, and they look forward to seeing her every Tuesday. Yeah.
And of course, our middle school students said the same similar things. First of all, Audra and I would like to extend our appreciation for the help, because with our caseloads and having only 2 of us there, it's a lot, and some of our kids have some pretty high needs. And so it's been very beneficial, not only to us, but our students said that as well. A handful of our kids said that they really appreciated the tools that they had received for their anxiety. Some other kids brought up the fact that it didn't cost them anything and they were able to do it at school. And I just have to say, so Kat was coming on Tuesday and Kyla comes on Monday. And so every Monday morning and every Tuesday morning, we have kids standing in the office, like waiting for the bell to ring so they can be with her. They don't even want to go check in at their lockers or check in at their teams. Nope, can you just open this conference door for me? Because I want to get in there. I know she's going to be here. So it's been really helpful to our kids, and we really have appreciated the help that we've gotten for them. So thank you.
I think a question you might have is, so why are we bringing people in and why are not we providing those services? And that's a great question, so I'll answer it for you. So our job as school counselors is to utilize therapeutic techniques to help our students in a short-term and solution-based brief therapy type of session with the students. And so what these students that were referred are needing more intervention than what we would provide. Our caseloads are not tremendous because of all the FTE that we have, but at the same time, we also are meeting the needs. Our goal in a school counseling program is to reach the needs for all students. Provide some interventions for some students, and then some more targeted and intense interventions for a few students. But this type of what these students need is more than what we would be able to provide. And so just to give you an idea, I pulled out some of the presenting issues that some of the students that are being seen, and then some of their treatment goals. The student has a history of trauma, abuse, and parental loss. Student has also presents with mild suicidal ideation, depression, and anxiety. They lack confidence and social skills. The student presents with anger management problems, which makes them impulsive and anxious. They struggle to regulate their mood and lacks conflict resolution and anger management skills. The student referred to counseling after making poor choices on social media. I think that could be a lot of students at the high school. Student struggles cognitively, socially, and emotionally. So it's not just that they're sad or upset, but it's more, these are pretty significant issues with trauma and anxiety and other things that you heard. Some treatment goals were to identify aspects of control and focus energy on that, identifying emotions and learning to express and verbalize emotions in a healthy way. Another is to identify and implement tools to decrease anxiety, increase socialization, increase confidence, decrease in fear, ability to communicate in front of peers, and decrease in physical symptoms. Learn to implement social skills, increase confidence, increase social network, and a positive body language. So we are very fortunate that we've had the opportunity to have the therapists in to provide those services for our middle and high school students. And like Rena said, the elementary students, Kelly, do you want to talk about the art group? Because I know that if you saw in here that there were a lot of kids that were impacted with the art group.
Yeah, we had when we found out that this was first going to happen, me and my principal kind of got together and looked at our most neediest kids and kind of put a list together. And from day one, it was amazing for them because they had a different way to, I guess, work through some of their stuff other than just what I can provide for them. And the art stuff that they could do, and that they didn't even realize that you could just sit there and draw and release whatever it is that they needed to release. When I asked all of the students, by far their favorite one was the calming bottles. They loved making the calming bottles. They thought that was just the coolest thing. But some of the older kids, one of the things that was really cool that they really liked was the mask activity, which was what Jillian had them do was like draw themselves, and on one side they had to write words on how they have heard other people talk about them, and then how they perceive themselves. And it was really eye-opening to the kids themselves, and to myself too, when I checked in with some of those kids, and just some of the things that these kids have to go through on a daily basis will bring tears to your eyes. So having this art therapy was awesome, as just another way for them to get through some of the stuff they needed to get through. So.
And then also, like what Rena mentioned, is that the Thrive program at Baker, the kids with some pretty significant emotional needs were given tools with the yoga, so some physical tools to help them be able to manage some of the big emotions that they're experiencing as well. So that's a lot that we've thrown at you, but we are happy to take any questions if you have any.
I just have one directed to Trey. He used an acronym, SEL, Social Emotional Learning.
Yes.
I would just like to say thank you to everybody for everything that you do. You're so important. It's always been important, but especially now in the last couple of years. So thank you to all of you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I'll second what Amy said. And just in my time on the board, it's just wonderful to see the amount of you increasing. Thank you for being here, and thank you for staying.
Yeah.
No, it's rough on the kids. I don't think there's one of us that would disagree with that in the last 2 years especially, but that would also translate to you as well, because you're counselors, you care about the kids, so I agree. Thank you.
Well, and I would just echo my other board members' comments, is that thank you. I have a unique perspective on it because I get to see what you guys go through every day, and hard to turn the page. And you get up every morning and you go back again. So, thank you.
Okay. Well, we appreciate all of your support very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So next, getting to follow that, is the Fort Morgan High School Future Farmers of America presentation.
Dr. Miller, Board of Education, thank you, and I mean that. You don't know how much it means to get your support and dedication and your commitment for the FFA. Not just the FFA, but all student organizations, because they really are an extension of the classroom. And these three individuals, what an experience they had. Started out as freshmen. For the last 4 years, they've become sisters and brothers, and really, really super close. Never put each other down, any one of them down, but always lifted each other up. And I got to witness that, so I'm honored to have these guys as a team, and I'm going to miss them so much. I really am. Just to show you just a little bit of what they went through, they're going to talk a little bit about some of the obstacles and some of the rewards that they went through during their horse judging experience. I will tell you this, though, this team has been unique in a lot of ways. They changed the rules on them the last 2 years, and it was no longer live evaluation, it was virtual. And they were like, Mr. Ditter, how do we judge horses virtually? I didn't know. And so we all learned together. So, I mean, it was a great experience. This team just was always making the best of every situation. Example is at Indianapolis, we spent 5 days there, short nights and long hours, long days. And we, last night, we went to, what was that place called? Hannah Haunted Acres. Just kind of a fun trip. And it was a haunted corn maze and really muddy, super muddy. And we got stuck coming out, and they all had to push, and we had to push this van out. And, so that was
stayed in the car though.
it was a late night for him, but we had to get up early to catch our flight. It flew out at 4 o'clock in the morning, and so we left the hotel about 2:33ish, and got to the airport and so excited to go home. They missed their moms and dads, and believe it or not, their moms and dads actually missed them too. But Jenna was the first one to get her ticket and find out that our flight was canceled, and we wouldn't be flying out until 6 o'clock that evening. And it gets better. We're going to Florida. So 6 o'clock we headed out and went to Florida. 6 o'clock p.m., not a.m., but 6 o'clock p.m. We felt like Tom Hanks in Terminal. But we made it back, and they spent actually 24 hours in the airport. And they could have made that miserable, and they didn't. They made the best of the situation. They were on the couch doing their homework. They would walk around, and I'm serious, it just reminded me of the terminal. But I'll quit yakking, and here's what you're here for, so I'm going to turn it over to them, introduce yourselves in your office. Oh, and they also run our chapter.
Yeah, so to echo Mr. Ditter, we'd just like to thank all of you guys for your support and for inviting us to speak tonight. So to start, we're going to introduce ourselves. So I'm Isaac Strauss, and I guess I'm the vice president.
I'm Kirsten Dahl, and I'm the president.
I'm Jenna Fritzler. I'm the reporter.
Okay, so our journey, as some people would call it, started when we were freshmen, and so now we're seniors, so I guess that's 3 years ago, or 4, however you want to count it. But it started our spring semester, our freshman year. CDEs, which are career development events, they were coming up, and it was time to pick which ones we wanted to do. And there's a wide variety of competitions you can do. And some of us had experience with horses before. Kirsten has shown for quite a few years. I showed for a few years. But some of us didn't. Like Jenna didn't really know anything about horses, but we were all just wanting to do it together. And so 6 of us signed up to be on the horse judging team. We really worked hard to learn together and grow. Because none of us had experience actually judging horses. The most we knew was how to show. And so we practiced 2 times a week for about 3 months straight. We went to our district competition, which was in Sterling, and it was really just a year of learning. So quite a few of us did good. Kirsten did good. I didn't do very good at all. It was mainly a lot of mistakes. But yeah, we all just had fun, and it was a growth year. And then our sophomore year, I forgot. I didn't go to state, but they did. And Kirsten got gold that year, and I don't think anyone else placed. But moving on to our sophomore year, we were practicing, getting ready for districts again, and COVID hit. And so that year of CDEs got canceled, and so we were just waiting for our junior year. So then our junior year came around, the spring of it. We were getting ready. Quite a few of us had dropped off. At that point, it was just us 3 doing it. And in horse judging at state and national events, you're supposed to have a team of 4, and we only had 3, so we were kind of at a disadvantage. But that was okay. At our districts, we went into it. We didn't know what to expect. Our last competition was 2 years before, and yeah, we didn't know how we would do. And we ended up doing really good. I think we won our district. We got 2nd overall, so most of Eastern Colorado goes to this NJC competition, and we placed second overall, but we won our district, which is like Morgan County, I guess. I didn't do very good again. Kirsten did good. Jenna did good. And so you automatically go to state. You can send 4 people to state, and since we only had 3, we all got to go to state. So we went to state. Oh, I just realized I'm totally stealing Jenna's part of this. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I think. I'll get us to the end of state. Then Jenna can talk about nationals. So we went to state, all 3 of us, and it was all virtual. And so we got to do some of it in the same room, but most of it we had to go in separate rooms and sit alone, and which was kind of nerve-wracking because usually we get separated anyways, but there's other people there, so it kind of makes it a little easier. But it was all virtual with a virtual awards ceremony, I think a week after or something. And so we finished our competition. We thought we were doing pretty good, and we were waiting for the results to come out on Facebook. And we were kind of all together, I guess, and we ended up winning state, which we did not expect at all. So we were pleasantly surprised. And then all 3 of us placed gold. So there's it's kind of hard to explain. There's 3 different divisions, and so we were in the top division, I guess. We didn't all place first, obviously. I placed 9th, Jenna placed 7th, and Kirsten placed 2nd. Yeah, so because we won our state competition, that sent us to nationals so we could represent the state of Colorado. And Jenna's going to talk about nationals.
So like Isaac said, we were pretty shocked that we won state. It was a really cool experience to be able to represent your state at nationals. We were also surprised at how we placed at nationals. When you go there, you're competing against these teams who go to national competitions all year, and we only compete at the state level. And we were, like Isaac mentioned, we were already behind because there's only 3 of us, and they're judged by a team of 4. So we were able to get bronze as a team, and me and Isaac both placed silver, and Kirsten placed in the gold division.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the process of how the horse judging works. So basically there's 2 kind of divisions when it comes to horse judging. There's halter classes and there's performance classes. So the halter classes is judged on, there's 4 horses in each class, and in halter you judge how the horse looks, how it moves. And then when it comes to performance classes, there's also 4 in those classes, but they do different things. They can be either English or Western, and then they perform patterns and stuff, and you have to judge how the rider and horse work together to perform the pattern. And then you have to place 1 through 4 what you think. And then at the competitions, there's a master judge who is certified and knows what they're doing. And so then you have to compare your results to theirs, and that's part of your score. And then at the end of the competition, they call out a class that you have to go back on and remember how you placed it and why. And then you have to go into a judge and give a speech of reasons on why you placed the class the way you did, and you're also given a score off of that. And so at the end of the competition, they put your scores together, and you're placed individually and then as a team. So
And we'd also like to thank everyone who has helped us get to this point. Our freshman year, we got a coach who volunteered many hours to coach us and to teach us kind of the format of reasons. Reasons is really what gets us a lot of times because you have to memorize it and you just sit and wait. We were only used to giving 1 set of reasons at districts. I think we gave 2 sets at state, and then we got to nationals and we had to give 4 sets of reasons. And these aren't just little paragraphs, they're pretty big. And so it was pretty scary, but with the help of our coach, we had it under control. And we would also like to thank Mr. Ditter. He kind of took us under his wing, And an example of this, I just thought of it when we were talking about nationals, is the night before our national competition, we were supposed to go to an orientation to know about like where we were supposed to go, because we were in downtown and we needed to go out to the state fairgrounds, which were outside of town. We needed to know which doors to go in, and it was all online. Yeah, it was online, but we were thinking, well, we don't want to spend 2 hours in our hotel room on a Zoom meeting. We're in Indianapolis, we want to go do something. And so they said that the Zoom meeting would be posted online later. And so we were like, let's go downtown and just hang out. So we went downtown and we rented like the scooters, you know, and just rode around Indianapolis all night long thinking, well, not all night long, till curfew. And we're like, okay, when we get back, we'll get back early at like 7 or 8 and we'll watch the YouTube video on orientation. Well, we got back to our hotel and it was like, yeah, right before our competition, we could not find the video anywhere. Mr. Ditter spent hours and hours trying to find that video, and we would look in every single spot and we could never find the video. But he just really worked hard to try to get us to the right spot, but finally we were able to figure it out. And also, we were supposed to have like all these papers printed out, but we were staying at a very scary hotel. We don't know who booked it, Miss Farnick, I guess, I don't know. But it didn't have a printer. And thankfully, and we had to have all these papers printed out for the next morning. And
They changed the patterns.
Yeah.
They changed the patterns, and I told them, we didn't know that they changed the patterns. They were changing rules left and right. Oh boy.
Yeah. So Mr. Ditter advised us to go to the much nicer Holiday Inn across the parking lot and see if we could use their printer. So me and Kirsten went over there and we asked the front desk lady, hey, is there any way we can use your guys' computer and printer? And she said, sure, come on back. So we went behind the Holiday Inn desk and logged into our emails and printed out all the stuff. But yeah, Mr. Ditter just really made sure that we were prepared and knew what we were doing, even though it felt a lot of times like we didn't know what we were doing. So yeah, we'd just like to thank all of you guys, Mr. Ditter, the school board, our administration, the community members, for helping us get to where we were. And yeah, it was a great experience, learning experience, and we created a lot of memories and friendships. So thank you guys.
Isaac, who is your coach?
Megan Hunter is our coach. Mm-hmm.
Just so you know that they were competing against 4 and 5 individual teams or people on the team, so just a 3-person team. So they had 2 silvers and gold. And I told them, I said, you guys just would have brought a monkey along. You really got to go. I mean, they placed that well to national level, so that's
very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I've just got a comment. I think I owe you guys an apology and even the board, because I'm sitting here thinking that last month we acknowledged the football team for winning state, which was cool. And I messed up because these guys won state, and remember, there's no classifications for these guys. It's everybody in the entire state from that. So even though we don't have it, congratulate. That's a great honor and really, really cool that you guys did that.
Thank you.
Awesome. And anytime you're with Ditter anywhere, that's a learning experience.
Yes.
Yes, memories made for sure.
Yeah.
Stay up here for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the newly elected board representative of the Ag Committee, and as far as the hotel goes, we have a really strict budget. We're really tight here.
I feel like we should look into it.
It caused a lot of memories. Going to Walmart and getting bug traps and everything. It caused really great memories, so don't worry about it.
To the previous one where you need to see the counselor.
To acknowledge your wins at the state, or at the nationals, I'm sorry, the 94th National FFA Convention and Expo in Indianapolis for 2021 for recognition of achievements in horse evaluation. So congratulations, Jenna, this is yours. And Isaac, I think you did better than you ever thought you would do. then Kirsten, the gold place, so congratulations on that.
Well, and I hope, Rob, can you stand up there for a second with the three of them?
Yes.
So they get in the newspaper, I hope. Take a couple pictures.
And Mr. Ditter.
And Mr. Ditter, yeah, you get up there too, Coach.
Come on, Ditter.
Thank you, guys.
Good job.
Saturday night, Kirsten had an injury on the basketball court, and she's suffering from a major concussion and possible spine injury, and still made it.
Wow.
Bless her heart. Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Ditter.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
It was a wonderful presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you. We now have the opportunity for audience.
Good evening. I'm Lynette Schaefer, and I'm a teacher here in the district. And I am representing Fort Morgan Educators Association this evening about our calendar for next year. There was no calendar committee involved in creating the calendar for this year that we're currently in, nor for the calendar for next year when it was initially created. In the past, there had been committee representation where people from different buildings did have the ability to have input. But over the last few years, we have not had that happen. At your last board meeting, Mr. Prouty brought up that next year's calendar did not match with the spring break with MCC. And then Dr. Miller shared with you that FMEA had a meeting scheduled for the next day, and we had an agenda there that we had some concerns also with the calendar because of the Christmas break. And at that point, I think Mr. Caruth brought up that if we were going to readdress the calendar issue, we should look at all of it, not just at the spring break issue. So I was a little disappointed when I went to print out tonight's agenda and saw that there is a calendar up for next year to be voted on that only includes a change in the spring break. Teachers across the district were very frustrated with our Christmas break this year. It's different than it has been in numerous past years. Yes, we had the same number of school days off as staff. We had 10 school days off, but it wasn't attached with 2 consecutive straight weeks, so it wasn't attached to 3 weekends. It was also not the best for students. All of the surrounding districts were out of school that week ahead of Christmas, and our students had to go to school through Wednesday, the 22nd. There were a number of student absences that week, and not a lot of learning truly took place. Usually, then, after Christmas, we come back, as teachers, we have a PD day and a clerical day before students start back. And typically, that happens with us coming at the start of the week. So we're here on Monday, Tuesday, kids start in on Wednesday, which is a nice way to ease in to coming back to school after you've been off that long. But this year, however, the 2 teacher days were in the week prior. So when the students came back, they had a full week. And that's a long, difficult week for kids who have been off for a break. And the current calendar for next year is set up the exact same way. I know that teacher retention was a main concern for those of you who are new to the board, that you had stated when you were running for the school board. And I'm here to share with you that teachers are overworked and they are burnt out. And some of that is because they don't feel heard. And I guess I'm saying you can help teachers feel that they are being heard by allowing them to have some input on next year's calendar. I'm asking you to table the discussion or the decision about the calendar until that input can be gathered. Thanks.
Next up, we have reports. Fort Morgan High School student representative.
Well, now that the counselors left, I was gonna say thank you, but they kind of left already, so I really can't do that anymore. But for the Fort Morgan High School this week, they're going to be staying a little busy, but we will be rewarded with 2 days off this week, them being the 18th and the 21st, one of them being for President's Day. This week, there will also be the boys' senior basketball night here at home, starting at 7 against Northridge. The girls will also be having their senior night against the same opponent, but they will start at 5:30. Both these events will be held tomorrow, the 8th. The wrestling team is also preparing this week for regionals, which will be held at Holy Family High School on the 12th, starting early in the morning, which that's going to be this coming Saturday. Coming up this month will also be Valentine's Day. The Morgan High singers will be singing Valentine's. These will be $5, and they will also be happening all throughout Valentine's Day, which is going to be the upcoming Monday as well. Later this month, we also will be having National FFA Week, with that being the 19th through the 26th. They will be hosting many different FFA game-related things at lunch during the week, and also a group of teachers will also be having to kiss a pig during the week as well. So, and on the 23rd, there will also be a tractor parade where the FFA members will be either driving or riding in tractors. On this day, the Fort Morgan High School will also be having a career fair for the students. So for this month, Fort Morgan High School really does have their plate full.
Thank you. Now, any reports from the board?
Yeah. You'll find in the packet some bill tracker, the CASB bill tracker data. Right now, there's about 40 bills up at the legislature that are dealing specifically with education. I just put in 5 that I thought we should be adhering to, not only as a board, but as a district. The first one is 5th year high school concurrent curriculum or enrollment. This has to do with those students that do dual enrollment with MCC in the Ascent portion. And this bill is HB 2210-002, and it's removing the cap on how many students can enter into a concurrent enrollment with a community college. Right now, there's a cap in a district, and so I thought we should be aware of that because that would entail some monetary things. The second one that is up is House Bill 22-1052, promoting crisis services to students, and it's kind of appropriate bringing it up when we just had the counselors here. But I do believe our students at the middle school and the high school have ID badges, and on those ID badges there are phone numbers already, like Safe to Tell, and I believe probably your admin building number. This bill is wanting to include a mental health number to be on those as well, in case a student would need to access those services. It would be on their school ID badge. I don't know the status of all of these, but they are up. The next bill is HB 22-1066. This one is a little, personally to me, scary. It's public education curriculum and PD development. This is indicating that PK-12, every document that a teacher uses in the course of her instruction in every content area be uploaded a year before their teaching so that it can be viewed by the community and parents. And I find that very concerning personally. So we'll be tracking that one quite a bit, but there's no straying from the documents that you would present online, is my understanding. The fourth bill is Public Employees Retirement Association service. So those of us in the rural areas that have retired, yay, if you're needing, because we have such a shortage of teachers, you can go back and work full-time, and it will not, if you're retired, and it will not impact any of your para payments, which is really good in this time that we're in. Have to do some thinking. And then the last one is interesting. I know in our district we have done a lot of training in K-3 for the science of reading, and this bill is authorizing that every principal that serves kindergarten or any grade 1 through 3 in every school and district administrator, I'm not sure what that means, if it's just building principal or other administrators in the district, would have to have so many hours of training in the science of reading before they can do evaluations of their staff who teach reading. I'm pretty sure we're up to par with our administrators in the buildings as far as principals under the grants we've had, but there could be a spinoff on this as well, because it does mention that each librarian successfully complete evidence-based training in the science of reading. The director of the Board of Trustees maintains an accurate list of those individuals and those librarians who have successfully completed that training, and so forth. So these are a few of the education, just 5 of the 40 that I thought were most pertinent at this time to bring before the board for you to be aware of.
Does anyone else have a report? I would just like to report about the superintendent search. On Thursday night, we came out of executive session and named 4 finalists that will be interviewed starting on the 4th and the 5th of March, most of it being on the 5th. In the near future, the next couple of days, we're going to have their resumes posted on the school's website. Starting this evening, we did have, it is posted, right, Beth? We do have applications for anyone who wants to be on committees to interview these candidates. We will have 2 committees of 8 people each. Those applications will be accepted through next Friday, the whatever date next Friday is? 18th. And those will go straight to Randy Zila, who is the contact person, the consultant from McPherson and Jacobson, the consulting firm that is doing the search, and he will be doing the selection of those committees. So that will be 8 people on each of those committees, and then the board will be interviewing on the 5th of March, and then we will have a superintendent by the 7th of March, if not on the 7th of March. And just for you guys to know that Randy's currently working on the draft for the interview questions. Oh, no, wait, he's done. He sent that to me. I sent it to you guys. So let me know if that looks good. He'll get it into a better form and then send that back out to us. And that would be our questions of the board that we would be asking the candidates. And I think that's it. If you have any questions that you want answered by Randy, you can forward those to me, and I'll ask him. Okay, any other reports from the board? All right, moving on to Dr. Miller.
I'll be quick. The HVACs, I seem like I always talk about it. We've got the drawings. They sent the drawings last week. That to get finalized. I'm working on a Division 0 thing that the school has to have, so I'm hoping by the end of the week we get the bids out. And then we'll probably give a week or 2, and then hoping by towards the end of February we can award the bids and go from there. The not such good news is right now the dollar doesn't go as far as it would have, say, a year ago. So unfortunately, we're spending a lot of money, but because of inflation and what, we may not be able to do as much as we wanted. Other item I have is, as you all know, called a snow day last Wednesday. I used to be known as the roughest guy in the world who would never call a snow day, but when MCC, Brush, Wiggins, everybody else, I go, okay, I don't know if I can take it, because it was actually the week before, and you'll find this amusing, that it was a little bit of ice. And we did have a student call Safe to Tail and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're having school. That superintendent did it with the bad ice and stuff. So I don't think that's a real intent of Safe to Tail, but we did that. And then, excuse me, the last thing that I have, and you may have heard about this, but this week Brian and I are meeting with Josh Neff of Centera Health. Centera Health has entered into an agreement to purchase Colorado Plains Medical Center in Fort Morgan, and he sent me an email saying, how can we work with you? And I told him, I said, well, right in the middle of insurances, we don't know exactly which way we're going now, but I appreciate the fact that he was willing to reach out and say, you know, whatever insurance we go with, we'll try to work with you and make that better. So that's a good thing. So that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me. Thank you.
On to Dr. Frasco.
I have no report.
But that was quick. Moving along to Tony Miller, CFO.
You all found this lovely thing sitting by your chairs or by your computer. This is yours to keep. You can take it home and read it at length. I'm just going to give you a summary tonight of what this says. This is the detailed document of the bond issue that we voted on in November. The bonds were sold in January, and it was issued on February 1st, 2022. The purpose of the bonds were to do some Legion Field improvements, which we've talked about, and to prepay 2 capital leases that are on the books, just get it all wrapped up in a tidy package. The cost of issuing the bonds was $133,000. That's for the services of Piper Sandler and the different people that helped put the bond together and the sale and all of that. Let's see, we just wanted to reiterate that we promised voters that by passing this, that the mill levy would not go up. It did go from 10.959 down to 8.967, which is a significant amount. I think it was really nice to see that. And just another little tidbit, the interest cost on the new bonds is 2.3%, which is excellent considering they're going up now. So we did this at just the right time. And if you have any further questions on this, don't hesitate to ask me.
Thank you. Okay, our Human Resources Director, Dr. Shoulders.
Great, thank you. We're going to discuss the substitute change to subs pay as we get into the discussion item, and we'll talk some more about insurance as well, so I'll save my comments on those till we get to there, but happy to answer any questions on either of those. Just a quick plug for HB 221101 that Nancy mentioned. That is our current critical shortage bill that is due to sunset in 2023. So this would take that critical shortage for teachers and bus drivers and food service workers and extend it in perpetuity for rural school districts. So it's a overlapping of many different strategies to try to solve what we're seeing in rural districts as a shortage, right? And so the second plug is for this Rural Teachers Conference that you'll be voting on. This is a really neat thing for our kids and a shot at growing some of our own, using our student cadets and sending them to a conference, getting them excited about teaching, letting them know more about the teaching industry. It's in conjunction with the Colorado Center for Rural Education. They do have quite a bit of money for both high school students' scholarships to go into education, and also for, we've had success getting our current in-service teachers scholarships to continue education. So they've been a really good partner. Robert Fulton is running that gig, and they've been a really good partner for us. So just a plug for those kinds of overlapping strategies that we're going to see more and more of as we know that there's not any one silver bullet solving the shortage problem. It's going to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but as much as we can encourage it, it will help us move forward. So.
Okay, so discussion items, substitute pay for certified staff.
And I'll give a little background. This all started, I kind of overheard a conversation with Bev when she had a substitute teacher that was coming here to enroll, and she was explaining to the teacher that if you sub for 5 days straight in the same position, your rate goes up. And every day I'm able to look at each school, and very seldom do I see a school that, we have 5 teachers out and 2 subs. We have 3 teachers out and a half a sub. And so that's where the idea came that, boy, I'd like to look at if we can get the same subs that maybe we share with a Brush or a Wiggins or something, give them incentive to stay here, and that might help. So that's where this started. I really like the idea of if you sub 3 days consecutively in our district, the pay is going to go up. So we're trying again. And as we talked before, it's tough on teachers right now. It really is. So I want to try, this is to help the teachers out and also to try to help subs. That if you're going to do that, and it doesn't have to be in the same position. You can sub 2 days at Columbine and then you go to the high school for 3 days. Once you're past that 3, then you'll get that additional pay. And again, it's just hopefully another carrot we can put out there to get the subs that we have. Maybe want to sub more days in a row. So that's kind of where it started at, and don't know if it'll work or not, but I hope so.
Do we have any kind of guess what the financial impact might be?
I don't think it's going to be that high. I mean, right now, to be quite honest with you, we're probably down in sub pay because teachers will fill in. If you fill an extra hour, the teachers get paid for that, but I don't think that equates. Now, in the elementary, it does, because if we have an elementary class that's missing, two teachers, they'll split the class and put it in there, and we split the equivalent of that. So I don't see it as being a huge impact financially. Again, the whole hope is here just to get more people that want to sub, and I would hope as it gets out there in the paper, and we'll do a little announcement, I'll have Bev send something out to everybody and whatnot, so that the people that we have may want to sub more days in a row, and people that said, I've been thinking about it, but I don't know, this might give them a little more incentive to do it.
Okay, let's talk health insurance.
So thank you guys for giving me a chance to just add some extra numbers to the picture, so that, run a couple of scenarios so that we can help project a little bit into the future. I think we had just a good chance to talk about this at the work session, and I'll just reiterate that as we went around and spoke with all of the buildings, we made clear that this is, anytime we talk about insurance benefits, we're talking about sort of the balance between how much we put toward benefits and what we were able to put toward salary. So we made that really clear. I think the other point I'll make about the numbers that I sent out today, those are a total bill, right? We in different scenarios, we'll ask for an employee contribution depending on how much the district is willing to pay at a base, and then we apply a base of, say, $739 per employee to whatever the employee chooses, and then the employee contribution becomes the next piece, right? And that's a conversation that we like to collaborate with the associations with on that conversation. So know that there's a big number there, but in each of the circumstances, there's still another step to go around determining employee contributions, which ultimately does help lessen the burden on the district. Just a couple points to bring up around those.
No, but thank you for the additional information that you
Yeah.
sent out. That
You
was
bet.
appreciated.
You bet. Hopefully that was helpful.
Next on our discussion item is the 2022-2023 school calendar. Anything to say?
Well, no, and was right, that was brought up at FMEA. We talked about it last week. Whatever the board directs me to do, I'm cool to do. My only concern would be is if people have already made plans for next year. And again, I'm pretty sure from next year on, it'll be done differently. I'm not going to argue that point, because as we talked, it probably, the process, not the complete process that Brian did on the health insurance. I mean, that was really intense, but it's a matter of bringing all buildings together and doing that. And it's been my experience in the past, that's a good month process to do that, get back and go from there. So again, I'm open to whatever the board wants me to do.
I move we table it until further discussion.
We're not going to do that
We
yet,
do that
because
yet?
that was just a discussion item. I'm asking about
Okay.
the
Very good.
next item. Okay, so it's just Katie on there.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so then we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, so moving along. Sorry about that. I just had to check. So we have the consent agenda, and what is the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Rob Caruth.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
I abstain from the personnel action report.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Okay. Next is action item A, which is the substitute pay for certified staff. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? I think it's a good idea. Roll call, please.
Rob Caruth.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Next is action item B, which is the health insurance.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rob Caruth.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Okay, next we have action item C, which is the 2022-23 school calendar. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move to table the calendar for further discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table this item. Is there any other discussion?
What would be the further discussion we're going to do?
Well, I'm going to need some direction, because if you don't do anything on it and it stays tabled for good, then the old calendar's still in effect, and that's what will happen from there. Again, if it's something that you want me to have a discussion with, I've got a supervisory meeting on Wednesday, but I'd talk to the principals, and usually I want at least one representative or two from each building. And I also, I haven't necessarily in the past involved maintenance or kitchen or whatnot, but so if that's something that you want me to do, we need to have it done. My hope would be by the March 7th or at the very latest, the 21st, I think is our second meeting in March. So, and if you say want to wait, as a board, you can set a work session to talk about it too. But that's where we stand, that if it stays tabled, then the old calendar stays in effect. And if you want something different, then I'll take that on and we'll have probably at least 2 meetings, I would say.
But the 21-22 calendar is
Done.
done.
And
So
the
it's
21,
just
well,
next
and the 21-22 is done in that I think spring break aligns. The one
Right.
concern we had, Christmas is over, from what I heard, that's the biggest concern. So the one we're in now is, and you really don't want to change that, because I think, my guess is a lot of senior parents have already got their date set for graduation. And you really wouldn't want, even next year, if you were to change graduation, I know there's probably a lot of junior parents that have penciled that in and got grandparents and everybody coming,
This
so.
is set for 2023. Is it doable to have that information before the next meeting?
To have what information?
Well, to have that feedback.
Overall
from-
teacher
Consensus
feedback.
of the educators.
Staff feedback.
It's doable yeah, probably. Because again, and what you need to understand, when I've done this in the past, it's kind of like Brian when he did the calendar. You're representing your building. So, and I tell them, even on the calendar, we heard that they like Christmas a certain way. There may be other people that like Christmas the way it is. And I usually tell each building, you have a vote. And you vote for what your school wants, not what you want, but what your school wants. And the school I was at before, we had 5 schools, so there was 10 people. And I said, the superintendent doesn't have a vote, but he breaks all ties. And believe it or not, there was one year that 2 people from one school, one voted for 2 different calendars, and it ended up being split. And I thought that would never happen. So I'm happy to do that. If you want me to do that, I'll get started probably pretty quickly.
Randy, you may not be able to answer this for me, but correct me, the calendars were put in they, 2 years at a time. I mean, somehow that got started a few
I
years ago.
think with
that they
Dr.
put in-
Hammock started that.
Dr. Hammock
And I
started that.
think I would be careful even next year of doing a 2-year calendar, just for a couple of reasons, because it's hard to keep track. I think in the future that if you were to do a calendar, it's best to get the committee started in November and have that calendar done before December of that year. So again, people that are making vacation plans can get that, and they know the calendar for the following year. And I also know that you will get a report from the accountability committee probably in May or June on, it'll be, a lot of what they're doing is on the 4-day week. And after that happens, the ball's in your court as a board to decide. Well, that's another reason you don't want to do a 2-year calendar. If for whatever reason you decide to go with that, then you're kind of back to where you were before.
Right.
So I would always just go 1 year and try to say, I always tried to say to the board, what I would always want from the board before I go into the calendar committee is you set the minimum number of days that we go. And it's already in place. Because that when I go to the calendar committee and said, okay, 180 days or whatever it's set at, now they say, okay, we want 2 weeks off for Christmas, we want a week and a half off for spring break, we want this much for fall break, and I go, great, we'll be here till June 23rd. You know, and it saves you guys from having to worry about that. So those are just things in the future that I think you think about with, you know, probably should be the new superintendent as they put it together. But I mean, I can do this. You may catch a little bit of feedback if somebody has already done their vacation plans for next year. Just be aware of that somebody said, I thought this was what we were going to have, so I set my vacation for that full 2 weeks off. Again, it's kind of like a lot of decisions you make, you're not going to make everybody happy.
And I agree, but I just moving forward, I think, and I know, I've been on those committees, I've served on a variety of things in the district, and committees you do have a representation of the buildings, and they don't always get what their wish is, but I do think we need to honor their voice. And so I really recommend that regardless of what happens here in the future, we do have that committee in place to.
So I think that would be a very good discussion with you, have with your new
And
superintendent.
I'm sure that'll help.
Okay. And I'll do the same, whoever, or what because I'll probably see all 4 of them. If I'm doing the tours or something, I'll probably mention that as well.
However, that doesn't settle this.
We have a motion and a second on the table to table this action item. Is there any more discussion?
Should we table it until the deadline of our March, what meeting?
I would go the second one just to be
The
safe,
second one.
21st.
The 21st of March.
And then kind of just table it and say, instruct the superintendent to come back with other options,
Sure.
and you can vote on that.
Okay, that was your motion, and who seconded?
I don't know that it was very articulate, but I'll make a motion to table the 22-23 school calendar until the second March meeting, which is on the 21st.
I believe.
After
That's
gathering.
exactly what Katie said, right?
It's
before.
exactly what I said.
Go with it. More
what I heard.
information
Right
and
before
feedback
you.
from some of our staff members.
Got that?
And who's seconding, are we sticking with the
No,
original?
she was
First
the
and
original
second?
motion. She
Perfect.
said all that, it was just,
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were
And
saying
then
that
Amy
my
had
motion
seconded
was the
it.
motion.
just
Well,
saying,
that's
were
what I
you
wrote, but-
seconding
Yeah.
what she said? when she
Yes,
said
second
the
part.
words?
100%.
Okay, we're good. So, roll call, please.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. So that action item is tabled. We will move along to action item D, Future Teacher Conference and Future Rural Teacher Summit at the University of Northern Colorado. What is this?
That's what Brian was talking
Yeah,
about.
so we're,
Yes.
we're sending some of our high school kids to a teacher conference.
Right.
And hopefully they'll stick with the path of being teachers, and we'll help grow our own a little bit.
Okay, so I should have asked the pleasure of the board before I asked.
I'll move to approve.
I second.
Okay. Now, any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye.
And thank you, Janine, for going back into that position.
Okay, and then the added table file, which is the policy of renaming a district facility.
And it's not really a policy, it's more a procedure that I at least
Procedure,
want you
not
to
policy,
approve
correct.
to do that. And so if you approve this tonight, my guess is within a week or two, there will be an application. And I think probably what Clint's going to do is have a committee put together. And it would actually be kind of nice if a board member were
I'll
on
sit
that.
in on it.
So if that's the case, you know, and so the process would be, the committee does it, the committee looks at it, then they're going to come to a recommendation, but it ultimately rests with the board whether or not final approval. So,
So for the application and the nomination form and the procedure, what is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
Just one question. This specifically addresses coaches. You know, in the instance, there would be another person that didn't serve in the capacity as a coach.
you know, I guess you could honestly name a math, you could name a
Well,
math
I mean,
room
you
off
can-
of a
you got-
teacher. That's what you're,
You got like a music teacher or.
yeah, that you want the music room. I totally get where you're coming from.
Just.
But I think you're right, it should be open to anybody and anything.
I
It's,
mean, the criteria might be different, but we might want to think about
Sure.
going further than this,
Yep.
somewhere down the road
Yep.
that recognize other people besides athletic
Sure.
coaches.
And again, I think as you do this, you know, for example, somebody may want a gym named after a person, but maybe it's a room, and that's where the committee, I think, has to really think this thing through for all the different ramifications and really have that discussion. And, you know, I think it needs to be a good, broad representation on that committee, and then have something that
Yeah.
they're going to bring back to the board.
How are you going to form that committee?
Just say yes.
Probably we'll just open it up and just see if anyone's interested. I do know there's someone that's interested in the community and has several people that are interested in doing whatever they need to make it happen. So I'll probably just open it up to any volunteers or anyone interested. I mentioned it to our admin group back in December, I think, and see if any of them were interested. So I'll just be open to anybody that wants to.
Any idea on how big a committee? How large?
I haven't thought that through as far as how big or small, but definitely somebody that represents Fort Morgan, that has historical knowledge, that's been here for a while, that understands the applicant.
Do you need a board volunteer?
John.
Good, John, okay, good.
And we could actually have two, we can't have three.
Well, I don't mind helping out with that.
So you have two volunteers, and
I'm kind of
okay,
old and
just
been
can't be
around.
I didn't say that.
Smart man.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Rob Cruz,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Okay, next we have two newsletters from Sherman Early Childhood Center and Fort Morgan Middle School. Advanced Planning. There is no school on February 18th and 21st. District is closed in honor of President's Day on February 21st, 2022. Interviews with our superintendent candidates is not tentatively, it is scheduled for March 4th and 5th, 2022. I will be glad when this year's over.
Wow.
The announcement of the new superintendent is tentatively scheduled for March 7th, 2022. The March board meetings are on March 7th and 21st, 2022. I'm done here. If there's no further action in front of the board, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Brian.
Hey.